Hello and welcome to another SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So, in this episode, I'll be discussing the 2015 Adam Sandler sci-fi comedy adventure, that is the retro-stylized Pixels. So, at the time of producing this review, we're kind of all on lockdown, trying very much to stay safe and do our little bit to help the NHS cope with the coronavirus crisis in the UK. And really just trying to find things to do and keep ourselves amused. So if you've checked out some of the other videos on my channel, you will of course know that we've kind of been feeling a little bit nostalgic at the moment, having brought down some kind of old consoles from the loft, and kind of have sort of been playing some of the old classic games from the 1980s era of gaming, and indeed we've also having watched Wreck-It Ralph, so also been squarely kind of noted in the retro style genre. The review for which will be up soon, so please do check back at SciFirst MovieTalk and indeed subscribe to catch this as soon as it's released. But carrying on that kind of retro theme, I also wanted to keep the mood and sort of in the household upbeat, and so opted to watch Pixels. Sort of having remembered that the last time I watched it, I thought it was quite a colourful, fun and enjoyable movie. Of course, if you just want that kind of comedy where you can switch off without having to think too hard, which is what I was after, then you can't really go too far wrong with an Adam Sandler. So, the film sees us introduced to the world of video gaming in the early 1980s, meeting Adam Sandler's character, Sam Brenner, as initially played by Anthony Ippolito, in the movie's initial intro sequences, who basically can kind of see the patterns in those early classics such as Centipede, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, so much so that he goes to compete at the World Video Gaming Championships in 1982, but is kind of narrowly pipped to the post by the Fire Blaster, or Eddie Plant, as played by Andrew Bambridge, and then by Peter Dinklage in the later scenes. A video of the competition is then sent into space to show any alien race that might actually meet it just what the people of Earth were just all about. God help them. However, it is indeed picked up, but is in fact interpreted as a declaration to a contest between our race and theirs, mistaking the video games and the competition of 1982 as our challenge to them. Many years later, after preparing for the challenge, the aliens reach Earth and start the games. Unbeknownst to us, the first game, Galaga. At first, the world seems powerless to stop the invading entities, as they play another round without our intervention. The next game being Breakout, I think, or at least Pong. But after enlisting the gaming heroes of the past, now all adults themselves, we soon gain the upper hand, playing through Centipede, an interesting and fairly eventful rendition of Pac-Man, and finally a hair-raising game to the death of Donkey Kong. Together with the onslaught of numerous other gaming characters from the 1980s, including Frogger, Tetris, Mario, the original, not the super version, Duck Hunt, Burger Time, just to name a few. The movie, in my opinion, after watching it again for this review, is still absolutely great fun to watch. Okay, so it's an Adam Sandler comedy, so expect moments to be overacted. But, in fact, however, I must say that that's primarily from the other cast members. Sandler actually keeps himself mostly restrained in this one. He actually comes across as the sensible one. At times, the film does seem a little mixed up. 1 minute, we don't know anything about the alien technology. Next, we have a whole heap of potential weapons we can use, modified cars, which kind of appear from nowhere, and a robot assistant walking through scenes. So, quite a lot kind of needs to be taken on face value. As to keep the film moving along, it certainly takes liberties getting us from point A to point B, with kind of things just appearing or being so, simply just because it fits in with the current direction of the movie. And, I will be honest, the film is kind of one of those, certainly at the beginning, where you spend most of the first 20 minutes or so just kind of wanting the action to start and the video games to begin. You may find yourself glossing over the human element during this time, as I certainly did. For me, it was pretty superfluous. The beginning intro was good. Of course, this set up the scene for the video games. But then after this, it kind of tried to set up a romantic relationship between Adam Sandler's character and Michelle Monaghan's character, Lieutenant Colonel Violet Van Patten, yeah, which was basically just padding, in my opinion. The real fun of the movie, for me, it is certainly that, and for me, sorry, the movie is certainly that, is the nostalgia and its take on some of the arcade classics of the early years of gaming, as exemplified in the early likes of the Centipede, Space Invaders, Donkey Kong, Galaga, even Q-Bear gets a part. Although in this movie, he can actually be understood. His classic gobbledygook speech reserved basically only for a joke, which I thought was a shame. They perhaps missed a few more comedy moments not using this character to his full potential. At least he was quite cute, though. The special effects for a comedy in the movie are actually quite good. And the representations of the classic games are excellent, with real attention to detail and a very nostalgic feel. Especially for those of us who have played the games before, especially the earliest kind of incarnations. The climatic scene is particularly a special treat to see, as basically our unlikely heroes battle Donkey Kong to a remixed version of Queen's We Will Rock You. The moment captures the essence of the game, but perhaps it does take a few artistic liberties with the rules of the game. If only we all could have had a go. Leading into that, I mean, so sad as I am, I'm not entirely sure that all of the games featured in the film would have been around in 1982, when the video was supposedly made and from which the aliens based all of their gameplay. I haven't gone into this in detail in terms of research and stuff, but Tetris and Duck Hunt do feature in the movie, in a series of very excellent sequences, I might add, and feel free to correct me in the comments below, but I am half sure that these games weren't around at that time. I think it was kind of a couple of years later when these actually came out. But hey, that's just the geek in me. It was still entertaining to watch and see them have their silver screen moments nonetheless. Like a number of Adam Sandler comedies, the 80s throwbacks are aplenty, as well as the great gaming elements on which the movie is based. There are also some excellent appearances by 80s pop icons such as Hall & Oates and Madonna, when the aliens take their form to kind of communicate with us. Even former US President Ronald Reagan gets in on the action. The way that this is kind of seamlessly interspliced with the movie as a whole, and it kind of fits with the overall retro feel, is simply a blast to watch. And it does offer some further great comedy moments. For me, it had almost like a Ghostbusters-esque feel to it, and to be honest, if they had kind of toned down the over-top comedy elements a bit and taken themselves a little bit more seriously, rather than kind of downgrading the affair, it may have actually been something to challenge the franchise. But hey-ho, I mean, again, it was fun enough in its own right anyway. I must say, however, that the characters you kind of do have to take with a bit of a pinch of salt. We learned that the main team of arcaders are some of the world's best video game champions. Well, at least for the early classics. This is okay, I accept that. However, the games played by the alien contenders are not played on an arcade machine. They're in real life. And although they follow the patterns employed by the original games, in order to play them, our band of heroes actually have to have mastered a series of other skills, such as handling firearms, being world-class stunt drivers, and Olympic-level athletes. All take many years to accomplish and perfect, yet our team, they seem to pick up each immediately with no issues. You also have an American president, as played by Kevin James, who seems more likened to be out on a pub crawl than he is leading the country, which does kind of exemplify, to be fair, the level of comedy employed at the films at times. Moments in the film can also be quite sexist and a little cringy, so be warned. There's not much, to be honest, but in particular one character, Lady Lisa, from a fictional game in the movie called Dojo Quest, as played by Ashley Benson, yes, from Pretty Little Liars fame, in a non-speaking role as well, may I add. In the final battle sequences, she starts off pixelated, as all the other characters do. And then for some reason, only known to the filmmakers, she actually becomes human. Weird, if you ask me. And her scenes are a little awkward to watch, given that one of the other gaming superstars, Ludo Lamansoff, as played by Josh Gad, is besotted with her to the point of dangerous obsession, and has since been that way since he was a kid. He basically acts as though she is automatically his to do as he pleases, although Lady Lisa doesn't seem to mind, though. It does actually appear, in the film's defence, to be her choice, and in a scene involving Cuba and the alien leader, if you like, it is insinuated that they may actually have free will as individual characters. And to be honest, in the whole film, there isn't anything really more sinister than this element, really. And so it does try to keep itself clean to an extent. Overall, it's a colourful, fun film, not to be taken too seriously. It has some great retro gaming moments and many brilliantly nostalgic 80s throwbacks. The visual interpretations of some of the early gaming classics are an absolute great treat to watch. Just a shame about the humans. No, I'm being a little harsh. The comedy isn't all that bad. Overall, it makes for a very fun film to watch. At least you don't have to think too hard with this one. So, that brings me to the end of this episode. Thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, please do leave a like on this video. And in fact, please do subscribe. Please, please, please. But absolutely, please do come back to SciFirst MovieTalk for more, for more movie reviews, more movie-related content, such as movie gaming and movie trailer reactions. But yes, please do come back. And otherwise, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.